And for some reason, I don't know, like literally I went to work the next day and I came back after my shift and my phone was just exploding with likes. And I was like, is this what it's like to be famous? Like, what is this? And I tried to respond to as many people as I possibly could. So...
Thing is, when you became famous, I then leaked your nudes, but I just didn't get any attention.
Well, that's probably a good thing. I don't think anyone's missing out. Right. I fucking realised this is the intro now, so...
What a great start to season 2.
Fantastic start to season 2. So yeah, if you're looking for my YouTube channel, it's Bear Ridge. Just go on YouTube, subscribe.
He'll be coming back soon.
Well, we can all dream.
Is Bear Ridge back?
This is going to be like a conspiracy now. There can be videos popping up on YouTube. Is Bear Ridge really coming back? Right.
George, hit that intro.
Hello and welcome to Season 2 of the DAFT Wednesday Podcast. I'm your host, George, and I'm joined by co-writer and fellow namesake, George.
Good evening.
And I'm joined by our favourite editor, Niall.
Alright.
So, Niall, tell us about the football.
It's coming back, just like Bear Ridge. It's coming back on Saturday. Hopefully, this is coming out on Saturday, and the football's already back.
Well, the football is already back, to be fair. There's been a lot of friendlies.
Yeah, but the actual football. I'm talking about the Premier League, George. The creme de la creme. The only football we talk about on Daft.
Yeah, no one cares about Scotland or France.
Or Sheffield Wednesday versus Leicester.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, so football's back. And we're going to be starting off Season 2 of the DAFT Wednesday podcast by predicting the Premier League, exactly like we did at the start of Season 1. Our first ever podcast was a prediction of last season. If you want to go watch that, I say watch. It's more listen. If you want to go listen to that, it's still on Spotify. If you want to find out how well we did... you can listen to the last episode of Season 1, and we talked about our, how well we did, how accurate we were. I'm not going to spoil who won. That person doesn't need their name saying, so it just doesn't really matter. That's old news now. So I guess we should get into predicting this year's Premier League. Have I left the party?
No, you haven't.
Am I on mute? Like, where was the... You just...
Yeah, let's do the predictions. George,
I don't know. I know it's been a while since we've done this, but, like, when I stop talking...
I was thinking you can guess from the intro that you did not win the predictions.
I definitely did not.
You made it sound quite ominous. Like, we can't talk about who won it. As if something's happened to them.
Yeah, as if they've gone to prison for like some stupid kids.
Oh yeah, that's actually really dodgy.
He didn't record.
All right, one of you just ask like, so how are we going to do it, and then I'll explain it.
Ask Alexa.
So, George, how are we going to do it today?
Well, I think the best way for us to do it, so that it's nice and clear and succinct, is that we're going to start off with the relegation battle. So we'll do 20th, 19th and 18th. Then we'll move on to the spots from 17th to 11th to finish out the bottom half of the table. Then we're going to do 10th to 5th. So we get sort of the Europa League spots and then those that are going to miss out on Europa League football. And then we'll finish with the top 4. And then this year, slightly different to last year, we're going to mix it up with bonus points for the Golden Boot and the Player of the Year.
Sounds good to me.
Well, the one thing we do need to decide, obviously last year our point system was based on how many positions away you got a point, and then whoever had the lowest number 1. So I don't know if you want to do it. If you guess the Golden Boot and you guess Player of the Year, you get -5 points.
Yeah.
Or do we think that's too many?
Maybe do -3.
We've got three. So we've got 3 categories. So let's say that you got. So the person who won got 71 points. It was 71 over the par in a way.
Yeah.
And second got 76. So that would put them tied if the person who got 76 managed to get one.
I mean, the difference is with this one is you have to get it outright. So if the person you say doesn't win it and they finish second, 1 goal behind, are we saying they just get no minus points?
I think so.
So surely there should be a bigger reward for sticking your neck out.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, at least -5 then, yeah.
All right. We're doing Golden Boot, Player of the Year, and Young Player of the Year as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that sounds good to me. So we'll start with that bottom 3 then, that relegation battle. I'll start with you, Niall. Who do you think are going to be the bottom 3 teams in the league this season?
Well, apparently, I'm a bit sort of new to football, but apparently it's quite a normal season when a couple of the teams that go up go back down again.
That is what usually happens.
So
Yeah, more
I've
often
got
than not.
two of those teams and one other team. I don't really know the order here, but the order I'm going to go with is in last place I put Fulham, and just above them West Brom, and also going down Crystal Palace.
Oh my god.
Funnily enough, I've done almost the exact same thing, except I've put West Brom and Fulham the other way around. But I have those 3 teams.
I've also got those 3 teams.
No.
And I've gone Fulham, Palace, West Brom.
Okay, so you've got
So
those
you've got
teams.
the same 3 different orders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What the fucking odds?
Oh, well, I'm glad to see that we're all on the same wavelength.
That's probably worrying for you too.
I can't believe that's just happened, though. Like, we can assure the audience, like, there's been no planning behind this, nothing's been mentioned behind the scenes. This is the first we've heard of this.
The only person's predictions I've seen is Reese's, and he's changed them since then. So,
I haven't sent mine to Reese, so literally nobody else has. There's been no crossing of information.
well, shit.
Well, what's everyone's reasons for those teams?
I mean, yeah, go on now.
Crystal Palace doesn't seem very good to me, and I don't really like their kit, so I'd be happy if they went down. And out of the 3 that are going up, unfortunately, I think Leeds will stay up. So, I mean, that's great for Leeds fans, and probably good for me because I could go watch them, but not in a Sheffield Wednesday kit.
Why have you gone for those 3, George?
Well, I think, like, Fulham are, like, they're just a proper yo-yo club. Like, one season they'll come up, come back down. They've done okay business. Like, I think Robinson's a good deal. They brought in Areola from PSG. He's quite good on Madrid.
Weirdly, I don't think that's actually a big thing for them because Rodak did really well for them last year. So it's such a weird signing, a goalkeeper, when they have such weaker positions.
It's also, they've confirmed the deals of Knockaert and Reed on permanence and brought in Lamina from Southampton, but they've not sold anyone either, which is, I guess, is alright. Palace, Eze's an amazing transfer for them.
Yeah.
But equally, they're going to lose Zaha this year.
You think he's gone?
Apparently he's told Ancelotti he wants to go. Not Ancelotti. He's told Hodgson he wants to leave to go to Ancelotti at Everton.
Okay. I mean, I think even if he stays, they're in trouble because really they've only got Zaha, Eze, and then maybe Schlupp.
Yeah.
Slurp.
And then West Brom, I'm fucking fuming about the Diangana thing, and I'm hoping they go down. Even though I'd want Village to stay up, I'm just hoping they go down. But they have got quite a good team.
They haven't really signed anyone else, though.
Yeah, they brought Pereira and Diangana back from their loans on permanence. And they brought in Kit Prey from Wigan and David Button.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I don't think they got a good enough striker to stay up, which is like such an important thing. What about you, George? Why did you choose him?
They're pretty much the same reasons as you. Like, I don't think Fulham and West Brom. I mean, obviously the downside to doing it now is that the transfer window hasn't closed. So in theory, Fulham and West Brom could go out and spend 100 mil next week, and then they could have the best team in the league. That's very unlikely. So given like their business so far, I can't see them making too many signings. I just don't think they're going to be strong enough to stay up. As much as I love seeing new teams come up and then stay in the Premier League, I can't see it happening. And then the same with Palace is that I just don't think they have enough good players to stay up. They were very close to going down last year. And yeah, I think a lot of the teams that were around them have improved slightly.
It's also like, it's unfortunate because I want to see Scott Parker and Bilic do well, but I just don't think they have the quality to stay up in their teams.
I really like Scott Parker as a player and as a manager, and Bilic is. I thought it actually was a really good pundit, so it would be nice to see him do well as well. But I personally with you two. I think they're unfortunately going to go back down.
Well, I'm glad we all agree on something for a change.
This is new territory. I guess we should then see who's going from 17th to 11th.
Okay. In 17th, I've got Aston Villa.
Okay.
And just above them, I think same as last year, West Ham. Sorry, George. Oh God, he's silent.
No, that's okay. No.
Okay. I just don't know if they'll have done enough to change their position at all, but I don't think they'd go down. And I don't think they're as bad as Aston Villa, but it's pretty similar. And then 15th, I've got Brighton. Leeds I've put in 14th. I think they'll do fairly well, but 14th isn't that great. Again, sorry, Carl, I don't know, 16th. And then the other three I have in the bottom half are Newcastle, Burnley, and Sheffield United in 11th.
Interesting.
Oh, that is they're the same teams as me, but I've got them in a slightly different order.
Go on then. What's your order?
So I've actually got West Ham 17th. I mean, last year, you managed to dupe us into thinking that West Ham were going to finish higher than they actually did, George.
I want to see the club manage to dupe everyone into thinking that.
Yeah. So I think they ended up in my top 10 last year, whereas now they're not bad enough to go down. That's the one positive. But I do think it will be close. The difference is I feel like West Ham are more likely to win random games and score 3 points, but I think they also haven't improved as much as some of the other teams that finished around them. I've actually got Brighton 16th. My reason behind that is because Moyes gone to China and they haven't replaced him yet. So unless they replace him, that's a big part of their team gone.
They brought Adam Lallana.
It's not quite the same though, is it?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
And then I've got Villa 15th. It's very much reliant on if they keep Grealish to stay up. They've just bought in Ollie Watkins for ridiculous money, 28 million plus £5 million. I think £5 extra bonuses would be a steal, but no, there's a few extra zeros after that.
They get with Fredo as well.
Yeah, just for fun. I think they'll be good enough to stay around that area. And then I've got Burnley 14th. They've sold quite a few players and they look like a few others could be out the door as well. Dwight McNeil's the big one, I think. He looks like he could be going to Leicester. If he goes, then their midfield is, in trouble. But I don't think, again, they're bad enough to go down. So I think they're just going to be around there. I went with Newcastle in 13th because they've made some really big signings, especially over the last few days. Callum Wilson and Ryan Fraser are good signings for them. And they also signed a centre-back whose name now escapes me. But yeah, I think 13th is probably around where they'll finish. I've then actually got Leeds up in 12th because they've made some pretty big signings. Rodrigo from... where did he come from? Was it Valencia? It was Valencia, wasn't it? Yeah. He hasn't come off the back of the best season in the world, but he's had a lot of really good seasons in the past, so he's got a lot of potential. So if he hits the ground running in the Premier League, they'll be fine. They were looking at also getting Ryan Kent from Rangers. FIFA fans, you'll know the pain of playing against Ryan Kent. But I don't think that deal is going to go through. Nevertheless, they've still got a nice squad to start off with. And then I went Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield United.
I wish.
Yeah, I know. If only they'd come up. Sheffield United in 11th. I think the problem they'll have this year is a lot of teams will know how they play, which is why I don't think they'll be able to get into that top 10. But I think they're still going to be a really strong team. So I'll put them in 11th.
I've actually also gone for all of the same teams except for one of them. As you guys.
George.
Who would have thought? Like, after last year, with like such random predictions all over the park, who would have thought? I've actually also gone for West Ham in 17th. And that's me being very optimistic. I think we'll go down. But I can't put it going down because I don't want to put that in my list. But I honestly very seriously think West Ham will go down this year. The board are an absolute fucking shambles. We've not improved in the slightest. The only player we've signed is Souček, who we had already, so that doesn't count. We've lost our best young prospect in Dean Garner for only 20 mil.
That's a big loss.
Which is, massive loss, especially to the team I put in 18th. We've sold Ayeti and Hugel as well, so we only have one out-and-out striker in the team, who's Allaire. Anderson's shit, Lanzini's shit. None of our fullbacks can defend except for Johnson, so if he gets injured, we're screwed. So we're supposed to be signing Tarkowski maybe, so I guess that's a bonus.
That would be a fantastic signing for you guys.
Yeah, it's a shame that it's not a fullback, because we need fullbacks. There's a lot of talk that Moyes might walk before the first game. So you might have actually already walked by the time this comes out. Apparently there's been a big civil war between the owners and the players after the Dean Garner sell, with Noble's tweet coming out and a lot of the players responding because of the tweet. I think we'll be lucky to stay up. In 16th,
fucking hell.
I've gone one of the other claret and blue teams, which is Villa.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I rate Watkins and Cash as signings. They've not sold anyone either yet. Well, anyone of note yet, so that's good for them. But I think Dean Smith is a championship quality manager. And I think even with Grealish, they don't have enough to push much further with a manager of that quality. I've gone for Brighton in 15th, which I wasn't too sure. I wanted to put them higher actually because I really like Potter, and I like some of the business they've done in bringing in Veltman and Lallana. Of course, they brought in Lamptey as well in January. I think will be a very crucial signing this year. But then also they've lost Moy, they've lost Glenn Murray, they've lost Shane Duffy, which is like 3 decent players they've lost. So I think they have the potential to do better, but they could also do worse. If you get my drift.
Yeah. Well, so far we've had the same 3 teams there, just in a slightly different order. So I'm completely on the same level as you.
Yeah. I've then gone for Newcastle in 14th.
Okay.
Wilson, Hendrick, Fraser and Lewis is really good business.
Oh,
But-
Lewis, that's who I can remember.
Yeah, but it's the same thing as with Dean Smith. I don't think. Who the fuck? Oh, Steve Bruce. I don't think Steve Bruce is a Premier League quality manager. I don't think he's the right guy to take a team with the quality they have into the top 10.
He's all right.
If they still had Benitez, they would be pushing top 10.
Yeah, and here's a proper like Newcastle thing with a team like that to finish outside the top 10.
Yeah.
I've gone for Leeds in 13th.
Okay.
I think the signs of Rodrigo and Cog could be quite good.
Mm-hmm.
I think they overpaid massively for Rodrigo.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
I've seen a lot of claims they'll finish in the top 10, which, no chance. They won't finish in the top 10. Like, Bielsa's good and they play good football, but I think they'll be in for a shock when they come up. Sheffield United in 12, they've actually done some really good business. Ramsdale is the perfect replacement for Henderson.
Yep.
They've brought in 2 new fullbacks in Bogle and Lowe, who were 2 of the best fullbacks in the Championship. And Ampadu as well, on loan. You know, they've brought in some good young players.
Yeah.
That's 4 young players.
Hang on a minute. You got Burnley in the top 10.
Yes, because I've got Southampton 11th.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Um,
You putting them there doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I really like Burnley. Like Southampton, I think Southampton could get into the top 10. I think it's very possible they could. But I think the other teams I put in the top 10 just have that extra quality in various ways. But I think if Ings has another good season, that's also a part of it. I don't know if Ings will have the same season he did this year. But if he does, I think they could easily get top 10, maybe even top 7.
So, for me, I've actually put Southampton in 10th. And that's because I think, because they've got Danny Ings still, they've also bought in that centre-back from Villarreal.
Lisu.
And, yeah, that's his name. And they also signed Carl Walker-Peters on a permanent. And whilst he's not good enough to play at Tottenham, he's definitely good enough to play in the Premier League still. So it's a good signing for them. Obviously, they lost Højbjerg to Tottenham, and that's a big loss. So they do need to sign another defensive midfielder. But if they do that, I think they'll be fine for top 10.
I've put them higher than 10th.
Have you actually?
Mm-hmm. But we'll get to that.
I'm pretty sure in the second half of the season they were up there like in the top 5 for like form.
Yeah, they were pretty good in terms of form. They also picked up points against some of the bigger teams. So yeah, I've got Southampton 10th. I then have Everton 9th. Obviously, they've made 3 really big signings in the last few days in James Rodriguez, Decore, and Allen from Napoli. I think they're all really good signings. Allen definitely worked very hard in the Napoli midfield. Obviously, he's 30 though, so that's how good is he going to be, and how long will he be that good? Same thing with Rodriguez. If they'd have signed him a couple of years ago, that would have been an absolute steal. But we had this conversation in the group chat the other day. He's only had 2 good seasons, really. I mean, he had the World Cup where he got the Golden Boot, and then he had the season at Madrid, and he had his first season at Bayern Munich, and the rest of the time he's sort of just been okay. I think it's like 8 or 9 contributions in more than 20 games. That's not good for a creative midfielder.
I think he's... I mean, I expressed my opinions in the group chat. I do think he's a little bit overrated.
It's just a lot of money for a player that... I mean, if he hits the ground running, and if he plays well for Everton, then that would be fantastic for them. And they'll definitely... Maybe they've definitely got a chance of getting 7th.
The problem is, I could see him doing like a Sigurdsson, Felipe Anderson, where like he has a really good first season for the club. And then after that, he drops off.
Yeah. I've above Everton. Then I've put Leicester because they've still got Vardy, but they haven't really made any signings. In fact, I don't think they've signed anyone yet. Their team is very strong as a foundation, but obviously there's always room to improve. And when everyone else around you is signing people, then you definitely need to push on and start signing some people. So I've put them in 8th, and then I've put Wolves in 7th, because I just think they're sort of, Wolves are just in that gap where they're sort of slightly better than everyone else, but they're not quite making it a top 7 for the Premier League. They're really close. It's within touching distance, but they're not quite there yet. But they've made some really good signings, especially the young Portuguese striker that they signed. Is it Fabio Silva?
Yeah.
So that he could be really promising for the future. So Wolves look good to me. And then I said we're doing top to 5th, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the next, I'm up to this next team will be 6th, and I actually really did struggle with 6th, 5th, and 4th. You'll find out who I put in 4th in a minute. I wonder to regular listeners if you'll be surprised. I put Arsenal in 6th.
That doesn't surprise me.
Because they had an awful season in the league, but then obviously they won the FA Cup. So I guess from an Arsenal point of view, that's actually a really good season. But just in the league, they were awful, and they were always sort of mid-table.
Mm-hmm.
And they never really got out of that. And whilst Arteta definitely improved them, they still never got into that sort of European battle. So
yeah, I predicted them 10th last year, and I wasn't actually that far off.
Yeah, that's the scary thing. So I could definitely see. I mean, Arteta said he wants them to win the Champions League within the next 3 years. So that would mean he'd have to focus on the league, because that's the only way he's going to get in. But I think he's more likely to start worrying about that next season, and he'll probably go for cups this year. So I've got them 6th, and I've got Man United 5th. Because I think they're a very strong team as they are, especially with the youth coming through. And they've just signed Donny van der Beek as well, which is a bit of a weird signing because he sort of plays the same position as Bruno Fernandes, but he can play further back. But he's a quality player for Ajax, a massive improvement to any team. So I mean they could quite easily be top 4, but I have reasons I'll explain in a minute for why my top 4 is what they are.
Okay. Well, I've been pretty similar for quite a few of those in your 10th to 5th. I actually put Everton 10th.
Okay.
I think that they're actually going to have to try to get in the top half of the table.
Okay.
Their new signings look quite exciting. To me, anyway. I haven't seen many signings in my time. But as you say, they're all a bit old.
Yeah.
And, I mean, if you had a look at the top goal scorers this year, they're all 27, 28, 29, 30. But these are just slightly older than that, and it's, I don't know. I don't want to get my hopes up, because Everton's one of those teams that, obviously I support Sheffield Wednesday, but then I want to see Everton do well.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys have those teams.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I want to see them do well, but I'm not getting my hopes up too much. I'm putting them 10th. And above them, I've got Southampton, which you guys might think is quite high, 9th, but from what I've seen of them, they're all right.
It's only one position above where I put them. You've just switched Everton and Southampton, so I can see why you'd do that.
The bit that sort of amazed me was that we've got Leicester in the same position of 8th.
Okay.
And along with that, we've got Wolves and Arsenal 7th and 6th.
Interesting, okay.
The only difference in your estimation and mine is that I put Spurs 5th.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Now, last year I put them 2nd. They disappointed me.
Disappointed me too, don't worry.
This year, I'm sure they'll do fine. But in working out all of this, I had a look at some odds and stuff for the top 4. And the odds for the top 4, there's a massive difference between the teams that I've got in the top 4 and then the next lot of teams. And I think I agree that Spurs just won't quite make it.
That's fair.
Depends. A lot of stuff is riding on Harry Kane getting injured as well.
I can quite easily see well, I mean, you can guess our top four, or we can guess our top fours from the teams that haven't been named. But I can quite easily see those top 5 teams being in almost any order. Well, I say the top 5. I mean, I can see some of the teams being in almost any order. Tottenham could quite easily be any side of the line, is what I'm trying to say. So it's. I don't think. I mean, the reason I've put them higher is because I can't go against them. If I was thinking in my head, I'd probably put them in 5th, but I'm not going to do that because I'm hopeful.
Well, I'm glad you didn't, because otherwise this scoring system is going to be a bit boring when it comes to us.
Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it? Well, let's see how accurately George has put them to ours.
I'm in for... This is a bit controversial for my 10th place one. I've got Wolverhampton Wanderers in 10th.
Oh my god.
He's mixing it up.
I think... So they obviously they came up a couple of years ago. They've got 7th 2 years in a row. And I think this year will be a summer of change for them. So obviously they've already lost Doherty, who is one of their most important creative providers in the team, to Tottenham Hotspur. And I think Jimenez could go at some point. There's talks of Traore going to Juventus, possibly. And I think it's for them to have achieved 7th 2 years in a row, absolutely incredible. But I think they'll have a season this year where they just don't quite get to that level. And then that'll provide them the motivation the year after to go all out and maybe push for a top 6 spot. I think Fabio Silva's a good signing as well. And I think Marcel from Lyon looks decent as well. But it's just losing too many people, I think, this year. I've then got Burnley in 9th. Everyone watches Burnley. Yeah, they know they play boring football. Makes you fall asleep. But it's effective. I think Sean Dyche is one of the best managers in the league. They've not bought anyone yet. But they've only so far lost Aaron Lennon and Jeff Hendricks, of real note. But obviously Tarkowski or McNeil could go. But I think Dyche will put him over the line, get him into 9th. Because, since, for the last couple of seasons, they have been pushing that sort of top 10 every year. And just getting into it. I think it'll be the same this year. And then maybe Dyche might move on the year after. This is a bit interesting, but I've got Everton 8th.
Okay.
Considering, I think you guys like Everton a bit more than me. And I did have a lot to say about their transfer policy this window. But I think they'll get 8th. I don't think they'll get European football at all. But I think they'll get 8th. I think Alan Rodriguez will be... I think they'll have a good first year at the club, but then drop off. And I think Decore could be a good signing, but after watching Watford, after the restart, I don't think he'll do that. I don't think he'll do that well. Because Everton's a proper team where, they've got very good players until they're not performing well. And as soon as they stop performing well, the players are just down tools. Like we saw at the start of last season where, they were in the relegation zone until Ancelotti came in.
Yeah.
Their players aren't the greatest unless they are playing well, if you know what I mean.
I mean, they do have quite a strong team as it is. Like Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin up top is they scored quite a lot of goals for them.
But it's just it's the sort of team where if they're doing well and they're getting results, they play better because of the confidence. But as soon as they start getting a few bad results, they drop off. But I think Ancelotti has that edge to maybe get him an 8th place this year. 7th, I've gone for Leicester, who I think they'll get Europa League football this year again, but I don't think they'll have anywhere near as good of a season as last year. Especially when you consider their form post-restart, where they were awful the whole time. Even post-Christmas, they've been awful. I think Castagna is a good replacement for Chilwell, as well, actually. And this is where it gets interesting again. I have Tottenham Hotspur in 6th.
Okay.
Oh, shit.
But I think Doherty's a good sign. I think Højbjerg's a good signing. And I think if you have a fully fit Harry Kane, they could push for 4th. But I think...
Do you think Doherty's going to help Arsenal get a buffer?
Yeah. He's going to score a few own goals here and there. But I think, I don't know, I think Spurs I think any one of these teams in 6th, 5th and 4th could get 4th. It just depends, the right combination of things happening to get them there. And I think even if Spurs don't finish top 4, or even if they do finish top 4, I think regardless they're going to win a trophy this year. I think with Mourinho there, they'll win an FA Cup, or maybe even the Europa League this season.
That is an exciting prospect.
I think they're much more likely to win a cup than they are to get top 4 in the league.
Yeah.
Having said that, Mourinho will want to win as many games as possible. So he's not going to just disregard the league completely.
I think that he will know, because it was the same with his time at United to a degree. I think he knows that you can cover up not doing too well in the league by winning a cup, especially with a club like Spurs that haven't won a trophy since 2008. If he wins an FA Cup, you guys will be over the moon, even if you finished 10th.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, we'd still want to finish above Arsenal. That's the big...
Yeah.
It's sort of, the other ones doesn't matter so much, but as long as Tottenham finish above Arsenal, then...
Yeah.
It's just those bragging rights, isn't it?
Yeah. And for 5th, I've got Manchester United in 5th.
Oh, okay.
I think Van der Beek he's a good signing in theory, but when you consider him, Pogba and Bruno all play kind of similar roles, it just seems like a bit of an odd decision to make, when realistically they needed a bit more of a better defensive midfielder. But he might turn out to be decent. I think either way it will turn out to be good. I just think it leaves quite an unbalanced midfield if you start all 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if they sign Sancho, then they'll be more likely to get top 4.
They won't get Sancho.
I don't think they will either.
I can't see that happening this year. It's almost confirmed by Dortmund themselves that he's not leaving just yet. So
yeah.
So you've got Arsenal in the top 4 then?
Yeah.
Presumably based on their performance right at the end of the year.
That, and I think Arteta is quite a good manager. And I think they've done some quite good signings this window so far.
I mean, obviously this campaign is starting very close to the end of the last one. So form is still going to be... It's probably going to be more relevant than it ever has been in terms of how well they did last year.
As well as that, we've got this new way of looking at stats, which is just about this year. Obviously, every year you can look at form, but this year you've literally got the restart since the coronavirus. And so it's like this whole new... It's like you can look at the table completely differently.
Yeah.
It's almost like you've got 2 separate tables.
Yeah.
It does mean that effectively... you can just look at form for the second half of the season. And certain teams, I mean, if you just look at the second half of the season, teams like Tottenham and Arsenal definitely performed much, much higher than they did in that first half. So you'd expect them to finish higher than where they did this year. And other teams like Sheffield United and Leicester, who started off really well, weren't as good, which is probably why we haven't put them as high as they finished. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, so I have a feeling that our top 3 clubs are all going to be the same. So,
yeah.
Niall, who did you put in 4th?
Well, unfortunately, what you just said will be wrong, because I put Chelsea 4th.
Oh, well,
my
okay
God.
Then.
So, essentially, Chelsea, pretty good.
Yeah.
You'll agree. They've made a lot of signings, haven't they? Because they've had such a... they've had years of not buying people. Just bought loads of people. Am I right in this? I haven't actually looked at this myself.
Well, like last season, they didn't buy anyone for 2 transfer
and they had
windows.
they had almost 200 mil from Hazard and Morata just sat there.
Yeah. So, obviously, my entire system, the first year we did predictions last year, was to do with spending, so you'll see them do quite well in that. But the thing about spending lots of money is that you change your team a lot, and I just can't be sure that they'll get in the top 3. And there's something about Man United that I just think's really fucking good at the moment, and it might be literally just swayed by the number of goals that they've got from penalties.
Mm-hmm.
I might have factored in somewhere in my predictions, but I think I just like a lot of their players. I know a lot more about them than I do about Chelsea.
This is a hard take, but I think Solskjaer will be out of a job before the end of the year.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, if he doesn't start winning stuff, maybe. But he is playing a very similar style to Alex Ferguson, and that's what Man United fans want and like. So, I mean, I don't know. He's bringing in through a lot of the youngsters as well. He's giving them opportunities. I think they have got a fairly strong team. I mean, I've put them 5th, so I mean they could definitely get top 4, but
yeah, I think it's possible, but I don't know. I feel like they're more in a fortunate position when they have good players than the coach being a massive influence.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they hadn't scored all the penalties they had last year, they would not have got top 4.
No. So now you've put them 3rd. Who are you putting 2nd, and who are you going to crown as your Premier League champions?
I've put Liverpool 2nd.
Okay.
Yeah, they were pretty good. I think they dropped off at the end quite a lot, but also that could just be because they'd already won at that point. I don't know. I don't know what you guys think that was about.
I think it's just because they won it.
I just think that Man City will prove to be better this year. I don't know what went wrong.
I think they just started badly. They lacked at centre-back. I mean, I'll reveal my top 4. So I've gone Tottenham in 4th because I couldn't back them. I couldn't not back them, and they've made key signings in key areas. If they sign another left back and they sign another striker, then I definitely think there's a chance for us to get top 4. We are being linked with people, so I pray to the football gods that it goes through. I agree with your comments about Chelsea. They've signed an awful lot of players. Some really, really world-class players. It will mess up the squad, and I think they will struggle in the first half of the season. But after they've played together for a little while, I think it can only be good for them. And I feel like next season they've definitely got a chance to push for the title. And then my top 2 is exactly the same. I think Liverpool have a phenomenal team, and they haven't signed anyone of any real... No, I mean, they signed the guy from Olympiacos, the left-back. What's his name?
Tsimikas. Something like that. Tsimikas.
Yeah. Here, the Greek guy, who was the guy that the Spurs ball boy beat in the Olympiacos game. He switched off, and we scored that goal from it.
I didn't realise that.
Yeah, it's the same guy that... Yeah, so, I mean... If you want to see that, you can watch the Spurs All or Nothing documentary on Amazon Prime. It's pretty good.
We're not
sponsored by Amazon.
I wish I was.
Oh, we wish we were as well. The amount of money. Yeah, I mean, City have signed Ake, so that's centre back already sorted. They're looking at Koulibaly as well. If they get him, then they are set. They sold Sane to Munich. But they've bought in Ferran Torres, who looked fantastic for Valencia last season. So they're pretty much set. They've improved in all the areas that they needed. And the problem that they had last season was that they were playing Fernandinho at centre-back. He's not a centre-back. He needs to play in central defensive midfield and control the game from there. So... yeah, I think they're going to win it as well.
That's interesting, because I've gone for a slightly different take on my top four.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that.
So obviously I put Arsenal in fourth.
Yeah.
They were already quite good towards the end of the season, especially in an attacking sense, with Aubameyang, Pepe. Who's the other Arsenal attackers?
Lacazette,
Yeah, Lacazette,
Ozil.
Saka. I think
Yeah.
they were quite good already attacking wise, and then this season they've also obviously brought in Gabriel, who looks like he's going to be a class defender,
Yeah, he
and
does.
they got Saliba coming back from loan, who also looks very good. And not only have they improved the back line, but they've also signed Willian. So they've also improved on the attack, and they've also got Cedric coming back on a permanent, Pablo Mari coming back on a permanent, and Ceballos coming back on loan. I think they'll have just enough to get into the top four this year. Because that's what they needed, was to just improve their back line, really.
I mean, it's a very young and untested back line.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Could they have done with a more experienced defender? Yeah. But
They got David Luiz.
yeah, true. And they got Mustafi still.
Yes, Mustafi did well under Arteta, so...
This is also where I've mixed things up a little bit, and I've gone for Man City in third.
See, that's interesting.
Holy shit.
I think whilst Torres and Ake are good signings, I think Torres is a little bit unproven. He'll probably turn out to be a phenomenal signing going on, but I think with his first year, I don't know. There's something that I feel like City just won't have the quality that Chelsea and Liverpool have this year.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously I put Chelsea in second. I think you're bringing in Werner and Havertz, who already played with each other for the German national team.
Yeah.
You got Ziyech, who I think a little bit of a risk because he's come from the Dutch league, but he has been one of the best creative players in Europe for the past couple seasons.
Yeah.
Thiago Silva on a free is a good defender, better than any of the ones they currently have at the club. And I think Chilwell is a massive improvement at left back as well.
I mean, I think there's better left backs for that sort of money, but
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He's a good left back. There's no denying that.
Yeah, have they ever paid? Probably, yeah. But you overpay for English players anyway. And I think with his age, you got him there for a few years. And the only players they've really lost of significance is Willian and Pedro, who are both aging wingers. So I think they've made enough to push for second this year, and maybe win the league in a year or two.
So this means that you think Liverpool are going to win it again?
Yeah, I think they'll win it.
So no trophies, no league win for 30 years. You think they're going to do the back-to-back?
Yeah, I think it's just typical, isn't it? You wait that long for one, you get two.
Well, they did already. They got the Champions League and then the league, so I guess...
I don't know, I feel like there's still quite good... There's still, the feel-good factor at the club. And I think they had a squad good enough where they didn't really need too many improvements. I think they could have... If they still could sign Thiago from Bayern. And I think other than that, they don't really need anything else to win the title again.
Well, I definitely think it'll be close between City and Liverpool.
Yeah, I think it'll be closer this year than it was last year. I think it'll be closer with the whole top four.
Yeah. Do you think it'll be closer this year, but Chelsea will still slip in between them?
Yeah. Okay. I think a lot of it depends on how well, say, Werner, Havertz, Ziyech do this year. Because if Werner comes in and he scores 15, 20 goals, and then Havertz also scores 10, 15 goals, and Ziyech also scores about 10 goals, that's probably good enough to get him in second.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think like they've only lost Lovren and Lallana as well of significance. So I think they're in a good position to win the title again.
All right.
Should we move on to the bonus points?
Can I just say at this stage, obviously, bonus points aside, Collard, you're either going to win or lose this.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
You're taking a gamble. As for George and I, we'll probably be within a few points of each other.
Yeah.
It just depends who's more accurate, but we've got the same bottom half and top half, and this,
I think
the sections we've had pretty much the same.
I think the Burnley thing could be a massive call if it turns out to go well.
Yeah,
but your Wolves thing as well. Do you need to? That's more of a gamble. That's 3 places.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, so for me and Niall, it's the bonus points that could be the real game changer. I'm interested to.
That's what I'm worried about. Mine.
Who did you give the golden boot to?
Okay, so as of this point, I still have 3 players written down. Okay, now you might think this is a bit strange, but I'd like to give it to Harry Kane.
I don't think that's strange.
But he's playing so much football this year, and he's had so many seasons where he's been out for like 3 or 4 months with injury. But I just can't see him not repeating one of his injuries.
You saw that article from the Athletic where they had all of his games. It was like 52 games between now and is it the Euros that we play last? No, it's the Nation League. Whatever he's got to play. In theory, he's got to play all the games of the Premier League. Mourinho's going to go for the FA Cup and the League Cup, so he's got to play those. All the games in the Europa League. And he's got the games for England, in which he's captain, so he will play, even if he only plays 70 minutes, he will still play a majority of those games. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so this month he's got 9 games, which is
It's like I said to me and Reece were talking about it the other day with his whole Aubameyang debate. And I was saying to him, like, he asked me who do I back more to get the golden boot, Aubameyang or Kane. I said to him, like, I'd back Aubameyang, but that's just literally because of Kane's injuries. I think if Kane had an injury-free season, he would absolutely, like, wipe the floor with the golden boot.
The 2017 season, where he was injury-free. Well, I say season, it was a calendar year, and he outscored Messi and Ronaldo in Europe. Bearing in mind that the Premier League is considered a harder league to play in as well. He outscored them. He was the top scorer in the league. He scored more goals in a calendar year than anybody else. He broke Alan Shearer's record. Got more hat-tricks in a calendar year. I think it was 7 than anyone else. So,
honestly, if he wasn't English, he'd be higher rated.
Yeah, definitely. Or, unfortunately, as bad as it sounds, if he didn't have a speech impediment, people would take the piss a lot less.
Yeah, true.
It's just a really easy thing for people to grip onto.
Which you think wouldn't be much of a factor in football, but
yeah, you would think no, but then also I guess because he's the captain of England, and then he also Lloris was obviously injured a lot last year, so he captained Tottenham a lot. So there's you have to do a lot of motivational speaking as a captain. So I guess it is relevant in terms. Well, speaking itself is relevant. The fact that there's an impediment just shouldn't matter, but
Well, so obviously the Kane Aubameyang debate is quite big in our chats because of how much Reece loves Aubameyang and how much
shags him.
You love Kane, and so there's a big debate between those two. So obviously I've got Aubameyang as one of these 3 that I've got written down. I will choose one, don't worry. But the other one I've got is a Man City player, because lest we forget, they had the most goals this season.
Is it Sterling?
I've written down Sterling, correct.
Interesting.
But the thing is, the Man City opportunities for goals are limited for the individual players because they've got so much squad depth and they just keep rotating them, and they've got decent strikers that they just share out their goals. So, like, they've got the most goals, but Sterling and Aguero aren't in the top. Hang on, I can't remember how many it was for goal scorers.
To be fair, Aguero got injured.
Sterling's fourth. Sterling's fourth with 20, and that's quite close to Vardy with 23. Obviously, it all gets a bit close in the top few. Kane's really low down with 18, but he was off for nearly 3 months, right?
Yeah, he played 7 less games than Aubameyang, for example.
Sterling was also, I'm pretty sure, the highest scoring Englishman last season. He might have been the highest scoring player in all competitions in England last year.
That's Sterling.
Yeah.
Is Jamie Vardy not an Englishman?
Yeah, but this is all competitions.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, okay. Of course. Sterling's one of those ones where, because I think Man City will win, I think he'll get more opportunities than, say, an Arsenal player whose team wasn't so good, but now might be. So those three is quite an agonising choice. Obviously, there's other players like Danny Ings, but like you said, I don't think he'll do quite as well.
I think the difference as well is with someone like Kane, the whole team goes through him. Whereas someone like City, it goes through like 3 or 4 individuals.
Mm-hmm. So I think for that reason, I'm going to rule out Sterling, despite it being a decent candidate for it. So it's really Kane or Aubameyang. Do you guys want to give yours while I make my decision?
Mine's Harry Kane. I mean, if he doesn't get injured, it is kind of reliant on Tottenham buying a backup. Well, I say backup, just another striker. If they do, then he's a lot less likely to get injured, and therefore I think he's a lot more likely to just score goals. If he's playing fit and he doesn't have to have breaks, then he will outscore everybody in the league. That's my opinion, obviously. You're welcome to argue your own point, but yeah, I'm going with Harry Kane.
I've gone for Raheem Sterling.
Oh, okay.
It's like I said, he's fucking phenomenal. Like, you watch him play, he's so good. And he's only 25. He's still not even at his peak in terms of like footballing years.
I think in terms of English players, like we had this conversation ages ago. I don't know if you guys remember. We talked about world-class players, and personally, in terms of Englishmen, I think Kane and Sterling are the only two that are like world-class. So I think Sterling's a very good shout.
Oh yeah, I think Kim and Kane are the only currently world-class players, but I think there's a few more who have the potential.
There's definitely some that will be getting there. Like, if people are listening at home, they're probably screaming like the names of Sancho or someone like that. Don't get me wrong, Sancho's a phenomenal player, but he hasn't quite done what Sterling's done just yet.
Yeah, it's like, I think Sancho, Trent, possibly Rashford.
Yeah, they're all very good shouts.
Rice could be world class eventually.
I think that's wishful thinking, but
I think in terms of his position, he could be.
Yeah. So if we've gone Kane and Sterling, Niall, do you want to be different?
See, that's the choice I'm faced with now. It's because I've chosen either Kane or Aubameyang. I could go for Aubameyang and we'd all get different ones, and probably one of us will be right, unless someone like Salah continues to be great. If Liverpool have a mad season, then there might be a couple of Liverpool players that actually go higher. But they already have had a mad season, and they're only in 5th and 7th for Golden Boots, with Salah and Mane, respectively. So I think it will be one of these three. But I'm gonna see if I go for Kane. That'll be really that will probably be quite a wise move, because then I don't lose out to you if Kane does win, because we've got very similar predictions. Also, to hope that Kane doesn't win is basically to hope that he gets injured, which I don't like doing. That's not very nice.
I mean, he didn't fit for the Euros.
So, yeah, there's a lot of people wanting Kane to be decent. The other reason that I could choose Kane is because Reece would just be tearing his hair out. Listen to this. That no one chose Aubameyang, and so there's a few reasons that are going to persuade me, and I'm going to choose Harry Kane.
Oh, okay.
The main reason is that Reece shags Aubameyang.
I really wanted you to choose Aubameyang just so that it wasn't so close, but no, that's fair. I can totally get behind you backing the best striker in the league.
If he wins it, I don't get the points, but I've played it safe.
Yeah, this is true.
What's everyone's player of the year?
Kevin De Bruyne.
Kevin De Bruyne.
I had one thing written down here, but I'm going to change it.
I didn't just copy it, I do have that written down.
I'm going to say Henderson.
Which Henderson?
Jordan. Obviously Dean. I think, because obviously everyone was saying it was either going to be De Bruyne or Henderson. The season just gone.
Yeah.
And I think if Liverpool win it again, it'll wind up going to Henderson.
I think that's fair. I'm going with De Bruyne because I don't think they'll win it again, and I think De Bruyne's on just a different level to the rest of the league, that he's just going to completely outplay everyone again.
The player I actually had originally written down was Trent. I thought Alexander-Arnold might get it, but...
How old is he?
I think he's 21. He might be 22.
So you might want to back him for the youth, though, instead.
Well, he won it this year.
Yeah. This is why I asked before we started recording, can you win it 2 years in a row for the young player? My young player is Trent. I've literally backed the same... Like, De Bruyne won Player of the Year this season. Trent won Young Player of the Year this season. I think they'll both just do it again.
I mean, I don't really rate Young Player of the Year because it's a fucking scam. But I've gone for Kai Havertz as Young Player of the Year.
Okay, that's a very good shout, actually.
Because I think he has the potential to have an amazing season. If everything clicks at Chelsea, he'll be the best young player in the league by a country mile.
That's a very good shout.
No, have you got another 3 options?
No, I just have. Well, I do, but I'm not as bothered about this one. So I am differing from both of you in this one. I've gone with the same as George for the other 2. Looking at it now, I'm just looking at the name I've got written down. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. But also, as you say, it's a bit. It might be a bit harder to predict because they just sort of choose whoever they want, really.
If you don't want to include young player in the scoring, then we don't have to. We can just have a possibility for minus 10.
I think we should.
I think we should.
We can change how much it's worth if you want.
Yeah, it's a scam, but I think we should.
I'm going to go for a Man United player.
Is it Greenwood?
I think you go Williams.
It is Greenwood.
Oh.
I think that's also a very good shout.
It depends if he's a naughty boy. Still.
Well, that's the thing, it doesn't really, because by the time that happens, no one's going to give a fuck, and they don't give a... Like, I don't think they'll factor that into it. Behaviour outside the football.
Don't usually. Jack Grealish got nominated, and he's 24, and broke lockdown to crash his car, so...
I was actually really backing Foden as well, but then I was just like, why do all these decent players, like, why are they such dickheads off the pitch? It was him, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
The wrong guy. All right, we can go.
Young lads, they're excited. Under normal situations, it wouldn't matter, but obviously we're not under normal situations, which is why...
Oh no, Foden's is a bit worse.
Foden's is a bit worse, but that's not really the public's issue, is it?
Yeah.
You know, that's between him and his
wife and
pregnant
child.
girlfriend. Is it wife?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
child. He's got
okay.
a child as well.
There you go. Well, that's sort of their problem. the fact that they broke the England restrictions, that is the issue.
I guess the thing is, it's not been as big of an outcry as I thought there would be. Like obviously they gave their views on it. Sky Sports said a few bits, but other than that, no one's really cared. I think voting would be a good shout for Young Player of the Year. It just wouldn't surprise me if City didn't do that well at the start of the season. They'd sign a £60 million attacker midfielder.
So we're all happy with our predictions?
Yeah, I'm happy with mine.
I'm sorry I didn't go for very exciting odds against you, George. I think we're just quite aligned in our viewpoints of players.
That's fine. Hopefully I'm just slightly more accurate than you are, although history would suggest otherwise. I'm excited. I'm interested to see how it will turn out. We'll post our full list on the Instagram page, so if you're not following us, go follow us.
How did you come across this podcast if you're not following us?
Well, you can just find it.
If they're looking for daft things, they might they've just found a Spotify playlist podcast.
Yeah, you never know. So make sure you're on our Instagram page so that you can see the full list on there. We're going to wrap this podcast up. We are changing the format slightly of how our podcasts... Oh, that's a weird way of saying podcasts. We are changing the format slightly of how our podcasts are working for all the extra bonus sections that we used to have, so that these podcasts aren't as long as our old ones. We're going to be having a second podcast called the DAFT Wednesday Podcast, and that'll be released a few days after this one. So if you want the bonus content that you got last year, stick around for that. It'll be on the same playlist here.
I prefer that stuff.
This year at the moment we have 3 sections. We're going to be predicting some of the football games next year, so we're going to be using the Super 6 for that, and we'll be competing against each other to see who does the best. We're going to do the Premier League Fantasy Draft this year rather than just a normal league. It's a different style, but we'll still again be competing to see who can build the best team, and we're going to be keeping Daft Dilemmas as well, because that was a section that we really liked, but we didn't really use it as much as we wanted to. I think we sort of stopped recording a few weeks after we'd decided that we wanted to add it, so we definitely want to keep that around.
It gives us a little break from football, which obviously you're not probably here for football, but just a bit of a laugh, isn't it?
Exactly that. So if you want to hear that stuff, see how we get on, make sure you tune into that, add the playlist to your library on Spotify, and then it's all there and you won't lose it. So thank you very much for listening. I've been George. I've been joined by George.
Thank you for having me.
And I've also been joined by Niall.
Yeah.
And make sure you tune in to next week's episode. I'll speak to you later.
Goodbye.
Clap to sync audio. That was awful.